Hey, it's Dominique Broadway, award-winning financial planner, personal finance expert, and the founder of Finances Demystified. So today, I want to share with you how I funded my wedding and honeymoon completely debt-free. So I met my husband in 2018 at a private brunch at South by Southwest. A brunch that originally they were not trying to let me get into, but I'm super persistent. So I walk in, one of my high school friends is like, hey, you should meet this guy, literally introduces me to the guy and walks away. Here I am standing with this gentleman by the name of Dion, who I honestly was just like, I'm not here to meet anyone. I'm here to get my drink on and enjoy the brunch. But anyway, we start talking. We end up dating via FaceTime for 6 months. We finally meet up in LA because he keeps telling me I need to come visit him. And we have literally been together ever since August 2018, nonstop. Then we spent the first 6 months of our relationship traveling the world. We went to Puerto Rico, Singapore, Bali, Phuket, Hong Kong, so many other places, and really just spent a lot of time with each other. Let me tell you something. If you want to get to know your significant other, travel with them, okay? You get to know them in and out in all different situations. It's really a good way to understand your significant other. Anyway, we end up getting engaged. He proposed to me on Mother's Day 2019 at the Santa Monica Pier, where we had one of our first dates. And after that, it was time to start planning our wedding. So we started researching and doing a little bit of research and just trying to see like what are the options. And we realized this wedding planning stuff can get pretty pricey. We already had our date set for October 10th, 2020. Now, obviously the pandemic started happening and I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this gonna happen or not with all the craziness? But we decided to go ahead and push for it with our wedding. And we decided to do this 3 weeks before the wedding date. So because of that, there's obviously costs that can be a little bit higher, but we had already started planning. So one of the things that we did when we decided that we wanted to get married is we figured out what was our budget, right? What is our budget? And I think it's really important for couples to sit down with each other first and see how much do you want to spend on this thing. And remember, this is just an event. It's a wedding. It's a celebration of love. You should not be spending your entire life savings on one party. That's my thought. So we sat down, we decided what our budget was, what we could afford to contribute ourselves to the wedding. And then typically a lot of times what people will do, especially what I used to recommend to my clients, is also sit down and talk to your family. Talk to your family and say, hey, mom, dad, grandparents, aunt, uncle, whoever, do you want to contribute to the wedding? Do you already have funds set aside for the wedding? You'll be surprised. A lot of times, sometimes people's families do want to contribute. In our situation, we decided we had the funds to pay for our wedding ourselves. So we knew exactly what our budget was, and then we created a strategy to fund this wedding. Now, if you follow me, you know I'm a personal finance expert and my husband's also a trader in addition to myself as well. So we decided that we would use the stock market to fund our wedding. So now that we had this number in our mind of what we wanted to have budgeted for the wedding, we created a realistic strategy of how we could use the market to fund the wedding. So we did a combination of making money when the stock market goes up and goes down, buying stocks, selling stocks, also using options and also trading futures to hit these financial goals. So we set a goal of how much we wanted to make every single day from the market to hit that major wedding goal that we had set aside. Now, I would recommend if you have not or do not know how to start investing, please use the link above or below, wherever it is, to access my video that shows you how you can actually start investing, because investing was a key way for us to be able to fund our wedding debt-free. Now, like I said, after we knew exactly how much we had set aside or what we wanted to spend for the wedding, we created a strategy to make the money to fund this wedding. Now, a lot of people will also borrow money, right? They'll take personal loans out or credit cards. We were absolutely against that. So instead, we created a strategy, like I said, to fund the wedding with investments. Another thing you can do is create a saving strategy. So a lot of couples who have let's just say a little more than 3 weeks, like us, to plan the wedding, they'll start maybe a year in advance, right? So that's also a great time for you to say, okay, I am going to take this time to start saving, right? I know that we need to have, let's say, $12,000 saved in a year, right, to hit these savings goals. So maybe we're going to each contribute $500 a month, which is $1,000 a month total, right, towards our wedding budget. And by the end of the year, we'll have the $12,000. So as I mentioned, one of the strategies that we used to pay for our wedding completely debt-free was to invest in the stock market. Now, as I mentioned, I have a video that goes a lot deeper onto how you can actually start investing with the stock market, but I want to share with you a few of the strategies that we use. So one of the strategies that we use is to focus on making money when the market goes up and down. So there's actually ways to do that. A lot of people think that you can only make money in the stock market when it goes up, but there's also ways to make money in the stock market when it goes down. So one of the things that I did when the market would go down, or those days when people were like, oh my gosh, the stock market's down, everyone else is selling, on those days, I was buying. I was buying everything that went down in price. You know why? Because for me, when the stock market goes down, it's kind of like all the stocks are on sale, right? It's like when you run across your favorite item in a Marshall's, you're like, oh my goodness, this is on sale. Or you go to, Target, and you go to the end of the aisle and you see all those items with a little red tag. I love that, right? They're all on clearance. So when the stock market goes down, for me, I go buy. So I was able to go in and take the money that I had and start buying a lot of the stocks when they were lower priced. And that helped me to make a significant amount of money as time went on, right? And even as the weeks went on, and grow the wealth or grow the money that I originally invested to larger amounts to fund the wedding, okay? So that's one thing that you should do. If you're not scared of the market, when the market goes down, that's an opportunity to buy. Stocks are on sale. Another way is to look for dividend-paying stocks or dividend-paying investments. So dividends are essentially when a company decides they want to share in their earnings with you. So a lot of companies will pay dividends quarterly or at other intervals. It does vary depending on when they decide to distribute those dividends. But dividends are another way that you can get kind of like checks, right, for investing in certain companies. So I invested in a lot of major companies that would literally pay me $1, $2, $3, $4 for each stock that I owned. And if you own a decent amount of stock, a small amount or a substantial amount, this can turn into thousands and thousands of extra dollars, right? So I know recently I got a dividend payment from a company where I owned a few thousand stocks. They paid, I believe, $3 per share, right? I got an extra, I think, $3,000 or $4,000 just in dividend payments. Those are extra monies that you can contribute to whatever your goals are. If it's a wedding, if it's buying a house, whatever it can be. Now, don't feel like when you start investing for whatever your goals are that you need tons of money to start investing. What I say, when you start investing for your goals, invest what you can, right? It could be $5, $10, $20, whatever you have. The biggest thing you want to do is just make sure that you start, right? So as I mentioned in the beginning, when you're originally trying to figure out how to pay for this wedding debt-free, you have to figure out what that goal number is. That goal number that you're setting for your wedding, this can literally apply to any other goal that you may have in your life. It could be buying a house, it could be traveling, it could be putting your kids through college, right? So making sure that you have that number in mind is key. That's one thing that I see a lot of couples mess up with, right? And so they start planning and getting feedback from their family and friends, and all of a sudden, this wedding budget has completely gotten out of control. So that's why it's important to have that goal number in mind, as I mentioned, no matter what your specific goals are. As I said earlier, my husband and I traveled the first 6 months of our relationship. That had a financial cost. We had to financially plan to do that. We had to figure out what our expenses were every month, because if we're traveling, those expenses are going to be different, right? We had to make sure that our income could cover those expenses. So there's so many different things that you need to make sure that you have in place when you're trying to fund a debt-free wedding, a debt-free vacation, or anything that you are trying to fund. So having that goal in place creating a saving strategy to make that goal happen, or creating what I like to say, a income strategy, right? Figuring out how you can make more money to hit those goals. And also, making more money doesn't necessarily mean you having to go out and get another job. It could literally be making more money from your investments, or making the money that you currently have grow a little bit more aggressively. And then last but not least, just thinking about and making this goal a priority. Making the goal a priority. This all comes down to lifestyle design, right? We all want to live our ideal lifestyles. And honestly, to do that, it really just comes down to planning, creating a strategy, and making it happen.